What are you seeing right now in how client expectations are evolving, and how is that shaping the way engineering teams deliver value and experience?
One is just the pace of change in the world around us and really seeing clients need extreme responsiveness, extreme turnaround on deliverables and advice. I think because of that, clients are expecting us also not just to be able to solve the problems that they bring to us, but to be able to anticipate the problems that they're going to have and understand their business and be aware of how their business fits into the world around them.
Client expectations in engineering are changing faster than most firms realize, and it's no longer just about delivering a technically sound project. Today, clients are looking for a seamless experience, proactive communication, and long-term value. And the firms that understand this shift are the ones building stronger relationships and standing out in a crowded market. In this episode, I'm joined by Emily Hops, PE, Executive Principal of Building Technology East at Simpson Gumpertz Heger. Emily brings a unique blend of technical experience and leadership experience. We'll talk about how client expectations are evolving, how to develop strong people management skills in early career professionals, and how initiatives like applied research are shaping real-world engineering solutions. If you're looking to strengthen client relationships, develop future leaders on your team, and create a culture that drives both performance and innovation, this episode will give you practical insights you can apply right away. Before we jump in, I want to tell you about AEC PM Connect, a series of in-person events we've created at EMI for AEC project managers and the leaders who develop them. If you want to stay on top of PM trends, elevate your team, and deliver stronger project results, these full-day events are built for you. We're coming to Kansas City this October. Learn more and register at aecpmconnect.com. I'm your host, Fiona Johan, and this is the AEC Leadership Podcast, previously the Engineering Career Coach Podcast. Let's dive in. Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Fiona. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
I'm so happy you're here. I was hoping you could start off by telling our listeners a bit about yourself and where you are in your career today and how your work has evolved over time.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I am a civil engineer by training. I'm actually an architecture, anthropology, archaeology nerd, but was good at math and science, so ended up in civil engineering, focused on buildings and structures. So perfect marriage there. And I was fortunate to find SGH as I was a student at Northeastern and learned about building enclosures and building enclosure consulting. And it was this great combination of engineering and architecture, and construction and science all rolled into one. So I feel really lucky to have a fascinating career working on all kinds of iconic and interesting projects and solving really complicated problems. As my career has evolved, it's been exciting, but also sad in that I get to work on those kinds of things less and less frequently. And I'm focused more on these days on business and people. So I'm currently responsible for SGH's enclosure practice for the eastern half of the United States. So I focus on our clients and our talent and growing our business day to day.
I think the arc you mentioned there is super relatable to leadership, right? You start really deep in those technical things that you're really good at, and as you grow, it becomes more about people and strategy.
Yes.
And that is the leadership arc, but an important one.
It's exciting and interesting, but I'll admit I'm jealous on days where I see, newer engineers getting to go out in the field and get dirty and take buildings apart and put them back together, because that's really fun too.
Well, it's good that we don't lose the love for what got us there in the first place. So
For sure.
Jealousy is probably helpful. What are you seeing right now in how client expectations are evolving, and how is that shaping the way engineering teams deliver value and experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. A couple things come to mind on that. One is just the pace of change in the world around us and really seeing clients need extreme responsiveness, extreme turnaround on deliverables and advice. By the time they make a decision and relay that to you, the whole world around us could change. So really needing to be on top of our game in terms of responsiveness and delivery of our work product for clients. And that's a tough thing. That's a high pressure job in a consulting role. So having to support staff and project teams through that has been a change and an evolution that I've seen. I think because of that, clients are expecting us also not just to be able to solve the problems that they bring to us, but to be able to anticipate the problems that they're going to have and understand their business and be aware of how their business fits into the world around them and the issues they're going to face, and be able to help them be proactive on that, which is a little bit of a change in mindset of just solving the problem that's brought to you, but really thinking like the client and what they need.
And it sounds like you're working to build a lot of trust with your clients through that anticipation and through that, quick responsiveness. How do you define a strong client experience in those engineering projects? And what are the key moments where teams either build or lose that trust that you're talking about?
Yeah. So to start with, and building on what I was just saying, owning the client's problem, it's not their problem, it's your problem, and making sure that our project teams approach it that way and treat everything about it the same way they would if it was their own problem. But honestly, I don't think this has changed at all. The way you build trust is still communication and transparency. The way you let people know what's coming, what's happening, share information, convey good news and bad news the same way is really, really important. Because I think that moment when you can really impact a relationship with a client the most is actually when something goes wrong. We all hope it doesn't, but you know, most projects have a hiccup or a challenge or something that you wished had gone differently, and how you treat that moment and how you communicate about it, the honesty you bring to it, the forthcomingness, and then the willingness to do what you have to do to fix it is really where you build that trust.
I feel like that's so important. And I just want to reiterate where you started with that was that ownership, right? And that comes down to owning the problem, but then being honest about it. And that is, that's how we all build
Absolutely.
trust in projects and elsewhere, right? Like
Exactly. It's no
when
different than the rest of life, really.
when things go
Yeah.
sideways, how are you reacting? Not on the great day
Yeah.
where everything went the way we planned. I think
And
that's
it sounds simple and trite maybe, but I really think if you can get that right, you're going to have a lot of success and you can build a lot on it.
yeah. So absolutely no pressure when something goes wrong, but this is the moment where you're building the trust as well. So fix your problem, but also
Yes, yes.
oh, yeah. No, I just think that's so important. I think the way I think I remember early in my career, I made a mistake and I went to my boss and she was like, I actually don't care that you made this mistake. What I care about is that you immediately came to me and told me you made it. And
Yep.
that goes for client relations, that goes for, direct reports.
Yeah.
It's just so crucial to own it and move forward.
It actually goes like it's what I teach my, teenage kids at home of everybody's going to make a mistake, but you got to admit that you made it, say you were sorry, and then do what it takes to make it right. And
Yeah, maybe come
if you
with
can
your
do that.
plan on what we're making it right with immediately.
Yep, and be, it might be some extra work to make it right, and you got to be willing to do that too.
Exactly. I love that.
In the AEC industry, skilled project managers are the backbone of success. EMI's AEC PM certification offers tailored training, ongoing support, and exclusive access to premium content that keeps your team sharp and effective. From foundational training to advanced leadership tools, set your team apart with certified growth. Learn more at aecpm.com. That's aecpm.com.
So along those lines, what do you tend to see as the biggest gap you see in early career professionals when it comes to people management skills? So some of that's building that trust. What else are you seeing?
Yeah, I think the way everybody operates in the world has really changed, and technology has brought so much efficiency in how we work with each other and how we communicate. But the fundamental piece of our businesses and how we grow them and run them successfully is relationships, and I think it will always be relationships. So I always encouraged, people just getting into the profession and growing their career to stop making things transactional whenever they can and to really focus on building relationships. How many times I have to tell people, like, stop it with the email, stop it with, the Teams messages and the texting, pick up the phone and call someone, have a conversation, go meet them for a coffee, get out to that job site, see it yourself. It makes a world of difference. And I feel more and more resistance or discomfort to that just because of how our newer professionals are used to operating in the world.
It's tough too because, even with like social media exploding, people are used to communicating with others through a quick, like 130 character, chat somewhere. And it's really
Exactly.
hard to remember or important to remember that when you're in a business and you're doing something like leading a huge project, you can't always cover all of that in some text. Picking up and hearing someone pause somewhere when you're talking about something tells you a lot more than you can read in a written email.
Especially when there's bad news and you have that moment of there's a problem. That can't be in an email or a text. That really
You
needs
gotta
to be a
own that one and make
conversation.
the call.
And if you've got the relationship already started, it's going to be an easier conversation when you have that versus if you've just been in the transactional mode.
Absolutely. If you've deposited some credits in the bank, it's not
Mm-hmm.
so hard to pull them out. But if you've got nothing there, it's not
Right.
a great place to be.
Yeah.
So as you're coaching emerging leaders to become more effective at managing people while still developing their technical skills, how are you balancing those two things as people are growing? Because you mentioned you still love those technical
I
skills.
do. I do. I think there's a couple of things in people's career when you're transitioning more to leading people and being part of a team than being the doer yourself is one. I think you need to think more about not answering the question, but explaining to someone how they can answer the question themselves. Teach them how to solve a problem, not what the answer to the problem is. And it's a lot easier said than done, right? And can feel inefficient and take longer sometimes, but so critical. But if you can do that, then you can start delegating a little bit more, which is one of the hardest things I find for people to learn to do, especially people in this profession who tend to be, perfectionists and really engaged and engrossed in their work. That's hard to let go of and trust someone else. But if you can start teaching them how to solve the problem, you can trust them more that they'll do it. And then that frees up more time for you to go and develop yourself and grow professionally. And that I found takes a big commitment because when people get to that place in their career, they're usually also at a place in their life where they're getting pulled in a lot more directions. So it takes a big commitment to show up at the right time and to really dedicate yourself to that and be conscious and self-aware of how important it is, because it has to be really intentional to let some things go and then make sure you can commit yourself to those other important things.
Yeah, and within that, you're learning how to teach, right? Like, that's not all something we naturally have. There's a whole profession for that for a reason.
Absolutely. My husband's a teacher, so he would love that you said that.
Right. I mean, my husband taught for a long time, and I noticed the difference between our teaching styles with our children these days, and I think that goes,
I'm with you.
that goes all the way to the workplace, right? Like,
Yep.
some of us are just naturally better at that, and so if you're in your career, you're having to hand stuff off, and you have to learn how to teach something to different people who all absorb things differently, like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
And so I just wanna say that out loud, that, like, it is hard, and it's not easy the first time, but it's one of those muscles
it's
that
really.
once you
And you need a good mentor. You need a mentor that can teach you and has also taught you how to be a teacher. And those are two very different things.
Yeah, find the people that did it well for you and pick up some skills.
Absolutely.
My mother always said, steal with your eyes. Um, so how does SGH's Applied Science and Research Center influence the way engineers solve real-world project challenges?
Sure. So our Applied Science and Research Center is essentially an in-house materials laboratory, which is really cool. We've got all sorts of fun equipment and testing gadgets that we can use to help us solve problems. And what I really like about it is it helps us get to the why of a problem, not just the what or the how, but the why. And I've seen in my career a lot of times people make assumptions and they don't entirely understand why fully, and they'll try to implement a solution that eventually doesn't work because they didn't have that fundamental understanding of the root cause that could lead to a solution that would effectively fix the problem. So that's really when it comes down to it, besides having a lot of fun looking in microscopes and testing materials and crushing things, that we can do in our Applied Science and Research Center is we really understand the why there, so the solutions can be targeted and effective.
That is so cool. As a fellow nerd, this sounds like a cool place.
It's really cool.
How do you think firms can better connect research and innovation efforts to everyday project delivery so teams see that practical value? So you've kind of talked about the soft skills. We've talked about having like a place to play with innovations. How do we bring that all together?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think a place where our industry sort of falls down because we are so just intellectually curious and interested. We can go down rabbit holes of our own problems and our own challenges and try to solve them. But I think the key to this piece of it is putting ourselves in our clients' shoes, really putting effort into understanding what they value, how they make their decisions, what their actual problems are. Because once you really have a good understanding of the client's needs, then you can use all this other tools and information and idea to build something that actually impacts them and how they're running their business and managing their work. That takes it full circle into something that really adds value. We got to step outside our own box and look through their perspective.
I love the way you put that together because it really took us right back to the beginning of what you said is how like building that trust and working with a client, understanding their needs takes you, it's all the way back to seeing the practical value in what you're doing every day. So when you're in a consulting firm and you're working with, it all comes down to relationships and understanding them, right?
Absolutely. And
And
sometimes it takes a moment of pause, reflection, and say, let me just think about this from another perspective for a minute. And we're so busy in our day-to-day lives trying to solve all these problems at this pace that everyone wants us to solve them at, that's hard, but I think it can have a lot of impact.
well, and that pace sometimes feels like it's non-optional, right? Like you have to jump in on that pace. And sometimes you have to pause and ask like, okay, but if this question took us 4 more hours to answer, how would that actually like what's the positive that might come out of that and what's the negative that might come out of that? And
Absolutely.
we're all trained to jump, 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 jump.
Yes.
Like
And
the
if we
world
don't pause and do it and we get 6 more steps down the road and realized we needed to, we've actually been less efficient because
now
we've
we've
got
got
to
a
go
4-day
back and
problem
do
instead of a
more.
4-hour.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think it is so against everything in our society right now, and I'm sure, engineering as well, but to just sit and reflect for a moment before you have the best answer.
I
And
love that.
it takes a lot of conscious effort to say, let me think about that for a minute before I get back to you.
Yeah, you
And
have to
that
be very disciplined
yeah,
and
you have because a lot of
build
us want
muscle
to
for it.
right? A lot of us wanna jump in and solve the problem. That's how they ended up in engineering is I
Absolutely.
wanna solve problems. I like
Absolutely.
fixing things.
Absolutely.
So taking that breath and reminding yourself that like, okay, is a 30-minute pause gonna be the end of the world here, or maybe I'll have a better answer there is so crucial,
Yep.
and is probably gonna help build some trust along the way.
Yep.
So I have one final question for you.
Sure.
If firm leaders listening today are thinking about leadership training for their teams, what should they be looking for to make sure it actually drives real impact?
That's a great question. I think it's probably really good mentoring relationships. I'm a big fan of training and courses and programs and all of those kinds of things. But when I look back on my career, the most impactful things were those mentors that invested in me and that I had a good relationship with and could model things after. And that wasn't always just one person. That might have been multiple people for different things. But when I look at growing future leaders, that's something I think about a lot of. Do they have a good mentor that is a good fit for them? Because it's going to be probably the most impactful thing.
I think you said something really important in there that I want to highlight because A, yes, mentors, and B was multiple mentors for different things. One person cannot be your everything. You need a panel.
Absolutely.
You need
Yep.
some people who are like, this is your career growth we're going to focus on. Some people are like, you need to work on these skills more. Let's sharpen those. You
Yep.
need someone who's going to be that advocate in a room for you when you're not there.
Absolutely.
And building that up takes time and effort.
And it may not be the same people throughout your career. What was a good mentor for you when you had 10 years of experience may not be the right fit at 20 years. And that's okay
Right.
too.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Emily. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate your thoughtful responses, and I hope we run into each other again someday.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Please remember you can find the show notes for this episode at aecleadershippodcast.com. There you'll find a summary of the key points discussed in today's episode, as well as links to any of the resources, websites, or books mentioned during this episode.